Hey, this is Notser, and today we're taking a look at the Tier 10 Soviet Battleship, Kreml, or Kremlin. We're on the map Tears of the Desert. This is a work in progress, and this is an early game. I just wanted to capture game footage of it, show off some of the different uniqueness to it. Obviously, the surface radar, the limited charges of the damage control, and then on top of that, this is, in testing at least, mandatory 457 gun caliber. I can't swap out of this gun caliber, and I thought that there was going to be a 406 millimeter gun available to this ship in particular, but I haven't been able to find it. Now, the build was on the screen. It's not efficient. I just took a commander from one of my other ships, and Soviet battleships don't need expert marksmen past like tier 6 or 7. They have incredibly fast turret traverse, so I need to obviously spend those 2 points somewhere else. Don't know exactly where I want to spend them, because if I, get a faster damage control, well, guess what? I run out of charges quicker, so that's not ideal. It's going to require a new build, one that I haven't done before. So maybe we'll just go jack of all trades and be done with it. But let's talk about the Kreml. So this is the Tier 10 Soviet battleship. What is their playstyle? Well, they got pretty shallow range, 20 or so kilometers. Not exactly blowing the doors off of on range. And the way they function is very interesting. They have sort of 2 states of accuracy. One state is, very inefficient, past 15 kilometers. It is very German in its dispersion when engaging targets outside of 15. But inside of 15 kilometers, it actually has really great accuracy. This is to sort of encourage players to aggressively push forward. Obviously, coupling that with fast turret traverse, it makes it, very, very reasonable to do that. However, it has a citadel on the outside of the ship, and it is above the waterline. So these ships, similar to something like the Japanese, will be the most vulnerable to citadels. And obviously I'm over-angling. This is ridiculous. But this Montana is very aware that this flank is not going to work out, right? So clearly he doesn't want to move forward, but I would love to. Now, on top of the fact that the citadel is above the waterline and all that stuff, the damage control, the limited charges. Not many people, honestly, have had a chance to play with limited charges. I think they were only on the October Revolution. I don't believe they were on the Tier 4 Nicholas Imperata PoE or Nicholas the Fourth. Gosh, I don't remember exactly what the English was, but the Tier 4 Nicholas ship, I don't believe that had damage control, the limited charges. So the damage control is a very fast, very effective. It lasts for 20 seconds. It has a 35 to 40 second recharge with the build I have. And you will blow through those charges very, very quickly. You can't aggressively use it on a single fire. It's just not an option. So it ends up being, you gotta, tailor your build to the battleships. Well, how do you tailor your build to battleships that don't really want to use their damage control on fire unless they absolutely have to? Well, you've got to reduce the time that you're taking the fire. So, signal flags, the basics of survivability, anything that would reduce floods and fires duration is incredibly beneficial to something like this. But you could also, try and be super aggressive with your damage control. This is sort of a technique that we really don't understand because we really haven't played it at a high tier. Tier 5 is, not Tier 4, but it is certainly not Tier 8, 9, or 10, where the player base is just more skilled. So whenever you're considering the damage control party nature of the ship, and obviously the Soviet battleships, when should you use it, and how do you compensate for the ship's features? Yeah, we'll call them features. I personally would just prefer to have a regular damage control party, because I don't feel like this damage control party is going to weather storms very well. You know, over the course of a battle, it will probably crack under focus fire, more so than maybe a typical standard damage control party. But, you know, I have to test it more. Now, obviously, this Montana's right in front of me, and I tried to use high explosive, less than stellar. It's not that spectacular. It's, you know, a similar feeling to the Americans, honestly. It's there, it exists, but it's not ideal. And we got a little citadel on the enemy San Luis. He's just inside the 15-kilometer range. You know, the nice thing about this is because the radar is 15 kilometers, you have a visual line marking where the accuracy will start versus where it's inaccurate. Now, there are concerns that obviously it has a radar. What does this radar do, Notser? Why aren't you using it, you know, on cooldown like every other radar? Maybe there's a DD. It only is usable on large targets like battleships and aircraft carriers. Cruisers and DDs are immune to the effect, so you want to use this radar. You kind of want to use this radar when there's islands blocking, or maybe there's an unspotted target, you know, just barely has the concealment expertise and also the concealment module, so they can get their concealment down to like 13 or 12. Well, 15 kilometers is really nice for revealing those targets. I had a similar situation where there was the Yamato that was about, I want to say like 14.5, and I had better concealment, and I wanted to detect him from my target. Well, obviously, radar the target, everyone else can fire on him. It's a pretty interesting design. I don't know if it's necessarily, you know, it functions as useful as maybe I would have hoped, because let's be real, you're never going to radar an enemy aircraft carrier. He's just not going to be that close. And the battleships that are, usually it's not by choice. You know, this is a brawling battleship. They want these guys in close. They don't want them to stay back. Limited range, limited accuracy. They've got a radar. They have really fast recharge rate on their damage control. So they can take a large engagement of extensive fire. Now, best example, you've got secondary battleships, and they're constantly peppering you with floods and fires and all the other things, plus, you know, friendlies in the area. How do you deal with that? Well, you use your damage control rapidly. You know, once you get up to 2, you take it off. It'll be back up by the time maybe 2 stack up, and by the time that you would normally run out of damage control, the target should be dead. That's what they're hoping to encourage by this. In practice, it basically means I can't use damage control most of the time. And no, you don't have a choice. You have to use this damage control. So hopefully through testing I can understand it better and hopefully design a strategy. You know, it's the nuances of the system, how far you can push it back and forth, that's really what needs to be learned. But as far as the Kreml is concerned, we've got a really effective fighting force at getting in and really dishing some damage. Has the most health in the game. This is not a survivability expert build. I'm sure there will be, you know, Alexander Ovechkin survivability expert builds with the Kreml, so you can push it to a ridiculous number. But that doesn't really mean anything. It's nice that it has a lot of health, but the limited nature of damage control, I'm probably not going to use damage control on a single fire ever. Same with Flood. I'm just going to take more dot damage passively, I think. But we'll see. So as I'm moving forward, you can definitely tell that that Worcester was in 15 kilometers. Very accurate, and I obviously pull the trigger when someone else is killing a target. But I'm going to try and use my Soviet battleship accuracy on this enemy GK. Now, so far, not very good. You know, we fired a couple shells outside of 15. We saw how that went. Very, very German-esque in its dispersion past 15. But inside of 15, it's actually really good. It's actually really good. We had great grouping there, and I have no idea what the Shima's doing. Maybe he feels the torpedoes. That's cool with me. We're just going to sail and push this guy out of the way. Enemy GK is dead. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Can you please get out of the way? Thank you very much. But, you know, turret traverse, incredibly fast. Obviously, expert marksman, complete waste of time. Maybe jack of all trades would be a better pick for this in that same slot. 10,000 damage on the Montana. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We're going to try and rotate around this guy and get his broadside so we can citadel him. And note, we're using the radar. Obviously, it sees through islands just as everything else, and it has the same sort of delay response for players to see and be able to benefit from. But, you know, once they do, and oh, the Shima, his little cheeky shot, I could totally see this being a viable strategy. Just get a A-dot rolling on an enemy Soviet battleship. Because they're not gonna put the one dot out. They're gonna sit there and take it because they want to have the damage control party for when they actually need it. I could totally see players doing that. Yeah, we got that nice broadside. Remember, these are 457. I can't equip the 406s. So we're just in testing, and you know, this Bismarck showing a pretty good broadside. And just look at the accuracy under 15. Like, you can really tell it ramps up. It is such a obvious increase in accuracy. It's like night and day. It's like two different ships from 15 kilometers and closer. And we're continuing to rotate. The Shima, I think he sent 2 sets, maybe 3. I was being maybe a little over aggressive here, but we gotta punish this guy. And we place it right at the water line. More torpedoes. We get no overpins. We did 10,000, which is great. And of course, Shima's there. I think he died. Yes, he died to a fire. Wonderful. We're going to take 1 torpedo. And I'm going to choose to use my damage control. Because I have so many, might as well. It will be back up by the time he sends another set. Which is great, you know, to keep the pressure up. This is sort of a... It's a tool in a different design to counter DDs than we're used to. You know, normally you got like radar or aircraft or high rate of fire. But for the Soviet battleships, it has really fast recharge on its damage control. So taking a torpedo, not really a big deal. Torpedo protection, pretty average. I wouldn't say that it's noticeable one way or the other. It doesn't really feel like it's there, honestly. It's probably 20 or 30%. I don't know exactly. But overall, I have enjoyed my initial impression of the Soviet battleships. I can't wait to try out more. We're going to be doing a lot of this on stream today at twitch.tv/Notser. I want to explore all the possibilities of the damage control, the surveillance radar, and the differences in accuracy. Like, would I ever want to pull the trigger past 15 kilometers? Do I use high explosive ever? You know, since it's more accurate at close range, obviously AP is going to benefit more from that. Plus, it's a really large gun caliber, and it doesn't get much in the way of penetration. It uses the typical 1/6 pin. But I am super excited to see the Soviet battleships in the game. I can't wait to play them all for you. I am really interested in your opinion, so, you know, leave in the comments what you would like to see. I'm sure Lenin will be popular. Twitch.tv/Notser today to see it. It's going to be 12 Eastern, and we're going to go for 5 or 6 hours. Hope you enjoyed seeing this first impression. Obviously, we'll get a better game and understand the mechanics more. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.